Hi friends, it's Rabbi Briskin with a thought for Shabbat. When crisis strikes, my first instinct is to reach out to family and friends for comfort and support. A second instinct is to turn to the wisdom of Jewish tradition. This week's Torah portion, Shemot, begins the book of Exodus. Thousands of years of Jewish text and tradition emerge from the early chapters of Exodus. The foundation upon which our values rest takes shape and form throughout this book. Several centuries after the Exodus, the great sages compiled the Mishnah, the first code of Jewish law. An entire section called Pirke Avot provides important lessons that help provide a larger framework that rests upon the foundation constructed throughout the book of Exodus and the entire Torah. For example, Pirke Avot 1:2 teaches, the world rests on three things, three principles: Torah, learning; Avodah, prayer; and Gimilut Chasadim, acts of loving kindness. The great sage Maimonides suggests that, quote, proper human existence could not be maintained if it were not for these three things. A few verses later, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel teaches that the world stands on three things: on truth, on justice, and on peace. Truth, according to Maimonides, refers to the two kinds of human perfection, intellectual and ethical. When we are implanted with knowledge, spiritual insight, and a commitment to doing the right thing, words of truth will fall from our lips and justice will prevail in our land. Internally and externally, these principles from two sections of Pirke Avot help sustain a world of peace. Judaism is rooted in the sacred texts that guide and govern our lives. When we read Torah, we learn that every word is there for a reason. There is no such thing as an extraneous word. From this we understand acutely that words matter. We can use our words to build worlds or destroy them. Throughout history, we've seen how reactions to words spoken by powerful leaders have led to violence, mayhem, and upheaval in other parts of the world. On Wednesday, sadly, we experienced it at home. However, we know that our republic and the democratic principles on which it stands are far stronger and greater than one man. Thankfully, more on both sides of the aisle are now raising their voices in concern and are using their carefully chosen words to bring about calm and the restoration of order. Friends, there may be dark days ahead. God willing, calm and sanity and a return to the democratic principles that govern our nation will prevail. My hope and prayer is that the words spoken by our elected officials and officials-elect in the days and weeks ahead will be words of truth, justice, and righteousness. My hope and prayer is that their ongoing learning and investigation, spiritual reflection, and the desire to do good deeds that truly make America great continue to guide them. My hope and prayer is that the forces for good in our nation, which are far greater than the forces of evil, will raise their voices and drown out the hateful words and rhetoric, symbols and signs and actions perpetrated by these most vile insurgents. My hope and prayer is that we can return to honest, heartfelt, and thoughtful civil discourse among people who love our country, even when we have different ideas of how to make America truly great for all Americans, not just some Americans. Friends, I truly hope and pray that there is not a single person in our congregation who condones yesterday's insurrection. We should all be appalled, horrified, and disgusted. Our members share a wide spectrum of beliefs and ideological positions. However, that should not prevent us from coming together to find common ground as we move forward together, restoring sanity and peace to this great nation of ours. The world rests on three things: Torah, prayer, and acts of loving kindness. The world rests on three things: truth, justice, and peace. The two great sages who shared these enduring lessons 2,000 years ago know that we require all of these values and principles to sustain our fragile nation. Pray for the peace of Washington, D.C., and for our entire nation. one built upon the foundation of liberty and justice for all. Shabbat Shalom.